And you'll let me know when to proceed? Okay, thank goodness. I'm like, I'm not a Peter kid. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our monthly series, Words for Palestine. My name is Sahara Sidi, and I am a public programming coordinator at the Arab American National Museum here in Dearborn, Michigan. Before we begin tonight's program, I'd like to ground us with an acknowledgement that the Arab American National Museum sits on the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe peoples, known as the Three Fires Confederacy, and of the Wyandot people, and that it is located within the region with the highest concentration of Arab Americans in the nation. We also acknowledge our neighboring city, Detroit, as Anishinaabe territory and as being the largest majority Black city in the nation, with a long legacy of African diasporic traditions. To acknowledge this land and its original peoples and diasporic communities is to recognize its longer history and our place in that history. We at the Arab American National Museum confirm that we are actively cultivating relationships and partnerships with the Indigenous and diasporic communities within and around the museum to uplift, honor, and learn from them. The Arab American National Museum resides within the region that is known to have the highest concentration of Arab Americans, that is now taking most of the flack in the contemporary headlines. It is now October, and we are now a year into one of the deadliest aggressions of the 21st century, the absolutely preventable genocide of our Palestinian families, a greed-backed, US-backed aggression that has not spared the lives of loved ones in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and so many others. There's little room for flowery language these days, and some may even struggle to find new words to name the symptoms and sponsors of colonial violence. We welcome both original work and the work of other writers who have wielded their pen on the side of resistance tonight. And while language, particularly English, has long been the arbiter of violence, we know good and well its avenue for expression, resistance, and remembrance. It is our hope to underscore these liberatory possibilities, and we are committed to nurturing and furthering the tradition of cultivating community and creating art that stands in solidarity with Palestine, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, Sudan, and all oppressed peoples in the face of colonial and state-sanctioned violence. Words matter, and those who continue to annihilate us know this all too well, which is why we will never stop talking and writing to and about Palestine, which is why we don't shy away from indicting empire for its crimes against humanity and sovereignty, which is why Words for Palestine exists as a way to bridge solidarity with our families in Palestine and to raise funds for PCRF and Palestine Legal, which are dedicated to protecting the civil and constitutional rights of anyone who speaks out for Palestinian liberation in the US. So please feel free to donate to one or both of these necessary organizations. You'll find the codes in the top corner of your screen tonight. If you have any questions, please leave them. We have moderators that will answer. So before I introduce our first reader, I would like to read from Samuel Al-Kazem's Enemy of the Sun, a poem that was first published in 1970 and, like so many others, still rings true today. The poem's title would also become the title of an anthology of Palestinian resistance poetry. The same anthology would later be found in the cell of George Jackson, an assassinated Black Power revolutionary, author of Blood in My Eye and founder of the Black guerrilla family. This poem was falsely attributed to Jackson in the Black Panther newspaper after the poem was found handwritten by Jackson in his cell next to the aforementioned anthology. This literary mistake is often regarded as an unmistakable sign of our interconnected struggles and fight for liberation and abolition, a point to be repeated as we continue to not just witness, but resist. So I'll open up with this poem, introduce our next reader, and then the night will progress. Enemy of the Sun. I may, if you wish, lose my livelihood. I may sell my shirt and bed. I may work as a stone cutter, a street sweeper, a porter. I may clean your stores or rummage your garbage for food. I may lie down hungry, O enemy of the sun, but I shall not compromise, and to the last pulse in my veins I shall resist. You may take the last strip of my land, feed my youth to prison cells. You may plunder my heritage. You may burn my books, my poems, or feed my flesh to the dogs. You may spread a web of terror on the roofs of my village, O enemy of the sun. But I shall not compromise, and to the last pulse in my veins I shall resist. You may put out the light in my eyes. You may deprive me of my mother's kisses. You may curse my father, my people. You may distort my history. You may deprive my children of a smile and of life's necessities. You may fool my friends with a borrowed face. You may build walls of hatred around me. You may glue my eyes to humiliations, O enemy of the sun, but I shall not compromise. And to the last pulse in my veins I shall resist, O enemy of the sun. The decorations are raised at the port. The ejaculations fill the air, a glow in the hearts and in the horizon. A sail is seen challenging the wind and the depths. It is Ulysses returning home from the sea of loss. It is the return of the sun, of my exiled ones, and for her sake and his, I swear, I shall not compromise. And to the last pulse in my veins, I shall resist, resist, and resist. Before we continue, I'd like to thank our partners, Mizna, Rawi, Palestine Rights, and Al Nadwa Free Thinking Society, as well as our artists whom you'll hear from tonight. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce my new boss that I am stepping in for. You guys may be familiar with Liwa Zainati, who is a poet, an educator, copywriter, curator, and the founding editor of Sukoon magazine. She is the author of the poetry chapbook Bullets and Orchids, published 2013, and most recently, Difficult, which won the 2023 Diode Editions chapbook contest. This is her second immigration cycle to the US. She lives and works in Dearborn, Michigan, and she's the best boss I've had yet.
Thank you so much, Sahara. Thank you for your intro and for sharing that wonderful poem by Samih Al-Qasem, and for your kind words. I am going to share a couple of poems tonight, and before I start, I would just like to take a moment to say glory to our martyrs, Allah yarham kull shuhada, and may the resistance stay steadfast and strong in the face of all of this occupation and madness and imperialism. I'm going to start the first poem I'm going to start is called The Last Day on Earth, and it is part of my latest chapbook, Difficult. The last day on Earth will be short. It will be quick. The car engines will suck back their toxic fumes. The shepherds will put down their sticks. The phones will ring all at once, and then all at once will stop ringing, and no one will pick up. Everyone will be sitting on something, a flat rock, a dirty pavement, the edge of a ruffled bed. Everyone will be looking to the left. Kitchens will smell of burned sage, and soldiers will abandon their sleeves to the heat of a broken field. The field will cover the dead with daisies, and the desert will turn into a single grain of salt. Everyone will be thirsty. A child will switch off the TV. A river will remember itself. Women will run outside on younger feet, and lovers will call their lovers to the window to show them how all the barbed wires had turned into threads of wind. Everyone will be looking at what's left. And you and I might talk again on the last day on earth. You might still have something to say to me. You might still want to show me how much I was wrong. This next poem that I wanted to share with you is actually it's actually a lot new. It's very new. And I'm just going to try and pull it up on the screen. It's very recent, and it's called Last Name Shara, Like a Message from God, is the title of the poem. And I wrote this for Sohab Shara, who, if you're not familiar with Soha, she was 21 years of age in 1988, and she was the one who attempted to assassinate Antoine Lahad, who was the army general of the Israeli-backed SLA, South Lebanon Army at the time. She was a Lebanese resistance fighter and member of the Lebanese Communist Party, and she comes from a Christian family who are very leftist. And the way that she tried to assassinate him was to enter his home, pretending, to be like an aerobics and dance teacher for his wife. And I'm just trying to give some background about the poem and about, Soha. So after some time, she attempted to assassinate him with exactly 2 bullets. And it's actually very symbolic. 1 bullet was for Palestine and 1 bullet was for Lebanon. But unfortunately, she didn't succeed. And she was taken and imprisoned and tortured in the Israeli Khiam detention center. She refuses to call it a prison because she was never charged or tried. And she was imprisoned for 10 years. And she was basically suffered, a lot of torture and was thrown into solitary for 6 years. And basically, this is all to say that, resistance has existed for many, many years. It's existed for decades. It has taken many forms. It doesn't know age. It doesn't know gender. Resistance knows no religion and no geographical boundaries. And it will continue in any form as long as we are still occupied. And so this poem is for her and about her. And I'm also kind of using language from the book that I'm reading, which is her memoir. I'm trying to see if you can see it here. This is called Soha. This is called Resistance, My Life for Liberation by Sohab Shara, and she wrote this while she was in prison. And one other thing I wanted to mention was, among other things that I read, was the prisoners tried to keep their spirits high while they were in prison, and so they would sing to each other. They would sing revolutionary songs and anthems to each other across the prison cells, just to keep going. She's still alive, and she still advocates for liberation and for a non-sectarian and socialist Lebanon. So this is for Sohab Shara. My parents called me Soha, like star or hidden planet. Didn't you know I teach, I dance, I sip hot tea like a lady with the first lady of South Lebanon. I had 1 shot to shoot 2 bullets, and where were you that the murderer didn't die? And I, 10 years and in solitary, wrote my torture down on toilet paper that I hid. These damned walls and these damned distances. And sometimes in the cells we sang, Unadikum, I call upon you and kiss the earth beneath your feet. And sometimes we sang, Nurfud nahna nmut, ululun rah nibqa. Tell them we are here to stay. This land, these houses, and tired people are ours. We sang and sang and sang. I was also going to read one last poem. I wanted to bring Palestinian poet Ibrahim Nasrallah into the room and maybe read part of his, it's kind of a longer poem, beautiful poem that he wrote actually more recently. Ibrahim Nasrallah writes in Arabic, and this poem is called Palestinian, and it was translated by the wonderful Huda Fakhruddin. So I'm going to read excerpts of it. I was silent and nothing came of it. I spoke and nothing came of it. I cursed, I apologized, and nothing came of it. I was busy, I pretended to be busy, and nothing. I sat, I walked, I ran, I shivered and I warmed up, nothing. I was parched until I cracked. I drank until I drowned, and nothing came of it. I crumbled like a fetus, like the father, the siblings, and the mother. I was then gathered in a shroud made of old curtains, and nothing came of it. I stumbled more than I could stand, but then I stood up, and nothing came of it. I prayed until, like a prophet, I became a verse in a holy book. I rode until I reached hell. I beseeched and begged, and nothing. I raged, I calmed, I remembered what was once distant, and I forgot what was always close. I befriended a monster, and I fought a monster. I died young and sometimes survived. In both times, I grew old from all that I had seen, but nothing came of it. I charged, I withdrew, I fought the wind when it blew, and reconciled with the waves when I rose and raged. Among the horses, my heart was a horse. In the night, my heart was a night, and nothing came of it. I ate, I hungered, I vomited, and nothing came of it. I embraced my shadow, and I chastised it, and then I chastised myself. I greeted a woman lost in the streets. I fought with a man and his smile nearby, and with a bird that sang briefly in the garden, and nothing came of it. I closed all the windows in my house and opened them. I wrote words on death when it is merciful, death when it is futile, death when it is hell, death when it is the only way at last, death when it is gentle and light, death when it is heavy and dark, and nothing came of it. I wrote about the river and the sea, about tomorrow and the sun, and nothing came of it. I wrote about oppression and depravity, purity too. I slept without a bite of bread. I dreamt without dreams. I woke up not missing my hands or feet or reflection in the mirror or the thing I call my soul. I died and lived. I lit myself on fire. I put myself out with my own ashes and nothing came of it. I am all these elements, O God, fire, earth, wind, and water. Their fifth is a pain that blind songs cannot see. Their sixth is this immense loneliness, and their seventh, since my slaughter, is blood. When I burned, I inhabited the letters of my free name like a butterfly. Palestine, Palestine. When my roof was suddenly blown off into the sky, and with it a wall, a window, and the youngest of my children, I gathered myself in the G and the A and the Z and the A. I became Gaza. 1,000 warplanes circled and hit me. I collapsed and collapsed again, and then rose in a scream. I called out, but nothing came of it. Nothing came of it. Nothing came of it. I lost faith and believed, lost faith and believed again, and lost faith and believed, and nothing came of it. Nothing came of it. And the filthy world asks me, all this, what of it? Thank you. Looks like I read the entire poem. Couldn't help myself. Thank you for the time, and it's an honor to be among these wonderful readers that you're about to hear from tonight. And Sahara, it's an honor to have you on our team too. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Eva, and thank you for not helping yourself, so to speak. I really found that. Yeah. The next author that we will be bringing on is Zeina Azzam, who is a Palestinian American poet, writer, editor, and community activist. Her publications include Some Things Never Leave You and Beina Beina in Between, published in 2021. You can check her out at www.zeinaazam.com.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with you all tonight. Thank you to the Arab American National Museum for organizing this reading and the entire series of Poetry for Palestine. And gratitude especially to Rewa Zinati and Sahara Sidi and the whole team at the museum. As you know, the Israeli government is using starvation of civilians as a method of warfare in the Gaza Strip, which is a war crime. This weaponization of food and water has been one of the most egregious factors to fuel the genocide in Gaza. My first poem is titled No Longer. An orange is no longer an orange. It is neither round nor orange. There is no invocation of a small sun in our hands, the golden juice from groves of our beloved Jaffa. A loaf of bread is no longer a loaf of bread. We are not allowed to remember the wheat that reached for the sun, the yeast that multiplied, the loaves baking on hot glowing stones of the clay tabun. A cup of water is no longer a cup of water. The cup has holes, the water has turned to dust and disappeared into the rubble. Those human beings, are they no longer human beings? They forge weapons from water and salt, from our oil and our wheat. They stalk us with tanks and drones, cheer as our desiccated bodies bleed, wither, fall. It's unconscionable that this war on Gaza is also a war against Palestine's children. It'll be so difficult for this whole generation to recover from the cruelty of the bombing, the violent displacements, the injuries, including amputations, and the over 17,000 children have been killed by now. And you know, this is likely an undercount. And thousands are fully orphaned or with one parent killed. The injustices done to this generation will cling to these children and really to all of us forever. We will miss them. We miss them, and we will always feel the void of their absence. This short poem is titled 17,000 Children Killed. Each loss an abyss, a black hole on earth. Each black hole a testament to annihilation, to childhoods crushed by bombs, rubble, snipers, starvation. This missing is a relentless vast ocean lapping at our shores. The shock will not stop knocking at our doors. This grief attaches like arms and legs of a child, encircling our body, holding us tight. For many years now, I've been volunteering as a mentor for We Are Not Numbers, and you can find out more about them at wearenotnumbers.org. And one of the mentees I've had is Ahmed, and he lives in the north of Gaza, and I hear from him quite regularly, and they are being starved. He and his family are just at the breaking point. He wrote a short poem, and I'd like to just read that to you. It's called Nothing. I'm still breathing, but that is not enough to feel alive. I lost my loved ones. I lost my power, hope, dreams, and my last tears. Nothing can express the pain of losing the people who were a main part of my life. Nothing can erase the last look at them from my eyes. Nothing can stop replaying our memories before Israel took them away. And nothing can let me imagine moving forward with my life after them. Gaza Sea. This is one of my own poems. Gaza Sea. At night, it's a vast melancholy blue. Waves gather and flow like a rippling sateen, a boundless widow's thobe embroidered with cerulean thread, edged with seafoam lace. Fish leap and dance from crease to pleat to pocket. Each dawn and dusk, fishermen would go out with nets to harness their silvery catch: sea bream, white grouper, red mullet, sardines. Throngs of fishmongers awaited them with talk and dreams of succulents crisped over hot coals. At home, the tatbilet samak would be prepared: cumin and black pepper, green chilies crushed with garlic and salt, fresh lemon juice all around. Rub the marinade into the fish, let meld for 15 to 30 minutes before grilling. But Gaza's fishermen no longer can trawl from small boats a few nautical miles from shore. Israel's bombs and bullets will find them if they try. Now the fish and crab and shrimp have multiplied as if a magnanimous higher power bestowed a reprieve. Infinite waves continue to gather and fold over each other, making their way to the shoreline like persistent hopes, clad in cloaks of mourning. They carry the whispers and roars of marine life in forward motion. This vast biome of blue will always thrive. So too will the people of Gaza. One of my favorite cookbooks is called The Palestinian Table. It's by Reem Kassis. She talks about a 9-spice mix that's featured in many of the dishes in her book, and that the spice mix lends these dishes a uniquely Palestinian flavor. So I looked up the 9 different spices that make up this list and where they come from the world. And I imagined how all these 9 spices from different countries all come together to uplift the Palestinian palate in solidarity with Palestine. So here is 9-spice mix. First, they tango on my tongue, nimble couples careening, then together form an Arab-style line dance, stepping, stomping, swaying. West Indies allspice dazzles, berries tangling with cinnamon sticks, while cloves, Indonesian natives, lead with a spirited solidarity solo. Coriander seeds offer greetings in Hindi, as others toast comrades in languages beyond borders and blockades. Lifting up sisterhood, sun-wizened nutmeg starts a sibling dance with mace. Cumin demurs, then surprises with subtle exaltation. Queen of Spices cardamom, host of the party, gives a nod to flavors in hiding: lemony, sweet, warm, fragrant, nutty, pungent, hot. Encouraged, feisty black peppercorns shimmy center stage, organizing the unique union of 9 for a vivacious global salute. And for my last poem, I'd like to read Colors for the Diaspora. It's a short poem that talks about the beauty of Palestine and invokes our Palestinian ancestors and what I hear them say to us. Colors for the Diaspora. Blue-green, watery globe, tugging to a red core. We are a distant comet, white cloud of unburnished rocks, frisking the heavens for an arc to earth, sea, home. Green-brown Palestine, cactus fruit and wild thyme, olive orchards, cypress trees. We travel on your mountain tops, tethered by voices from suitcases and the yaw of blackened keys. Blue-black night, silver stars of ancestors traveling a displaced orbit around a lost sun, repeating, When will we see the colors of our land? When will we land? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zeina. And thank you to all the readers and listeners here tonight. I'm seeing everyone start to file in. I just wanted to remind everyone to utilize the QR codes at the top left of your screen to donate to PCRF and PAL Legal. And the next author you'll hear from tonight is Nada Samih Rotundo, who is a multi-genre Palestinian American writer, educator, and mother. A graduate of Rhode Island College, she earned degrees in English and education, as well as an MFA in creative writing from Lesley University. When she is not befriending trees or attuning to hidden stories, she is leading transformational educational experiences and addressing the social emotional needs of historically underserved and multilingual youth. Her writing has appeared in the Master's Review, Gulfstream Literary Magazine, and Squat Birth Journal. She lives in Providence with her husband and 3 children. All Water Has Perfect Memory is her first book, so be sure to check that out.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. I know, like many Palestinians, we feel like, just this year has been such an intense year, and it really fills my heart to be able to share this moment with other Palestinians. This is a new piece that I wrote. So I write fiction and nonfiction. So this piece is a little bit of nonfiction. Yeah, it's called Dragons. There is a sepia photo of me, no older than 5 years old, in Kuwait, sometime in the late 80s, wearing that green dress I picked out for my birthday. I remember the feel of the gauzy tulle against my open palms, the way it flared up like a parachute when it caught the breeze as I spun around the house, dancing to melodies in my head. The dress was embellished with white ribbons, and I remember how they twirled like banners and rustled like leaves when I spun around. The skirt's layers danced on their own and sang a crinkly swoosh, the melody synonymous with girlhood. The joy of layered tulle distracted me from the fact that it was a dress. I hated wearing dresses and preferred running around in pants and getting dirty. I relented this one time because I was a guest at my kindergarten teacher's wedding, and I had a code to follow, the code of Palestinian girlhood. This past year, when I happened by that photo, I was struck by a different sort of nostalgia. Instead of those familiar waves of bittersweet memories, this nostalgia grows sharp thorns that twine themselves around my heart. I notice how I am indistinguishable from every photo of a martyred Palestinian girl on my social media feed. Apparently, flowers, bows, and headbands are timeless rituals of passage in little girl land. The carefully parted hair, the sassy poses, the exuberant eyes, all of us trained in the code of Palestinian girlhood. We earned badges in climbing trees, kicking soccer balls, drawing rainbows, and sitting still long enough for Teta to braid our hair. This kingdom tasted like buttery date ma'moul in Eid and sticky sweet Amr ad-Din juice in Ramadan. It sounded like coaxing kittens out from under parked cars and the ringing bells of the ice cream man. Under different circumstances, these photos would show up in a yearbook or one of those senior year slideshows set to a 90s graduation song, eliciting nostalgic tears. Instead, these pictures turn my insides out and my heart flops like a dying fish in my chest, eyes bleary with salt. The girls of Gaza do not have the privilege of nostalgia, which typically sets in the late teen years or early 20s. Perhaps they do experience it, but much too early and much too often, since it often occurs during times of transitions. And what is death but the ultimate transition? Nostalgia, or the sentimental yearning for the past, comes about with space and time for reflection, a precious, if not altogether absent resource during an active, ongoing genocide. As they are robbed of the opportunity to develop nostalgia, I find myself drowning in it. The sight of these girls at the park, at a birthday party, a school portrait with the same school uniform with the Peter Pan collar I wore, quickly dissolves any boundary of being a grown-up. All these Palestinian girlhoods that started out exactly like mine, but through forces larger than me, I made it to age 40, and they did not. A thick fog of grief settles and seeps into every crevice, chokes out any logic or reason. They are me, and I am them. Time and space are an illusion. Instead of reigning over the realm of girlhood, their reign transferred to the other side. It is the highest honor to serve in the kingdom of Palestinian girlhood. It is a well-established fact that once you are inducted, you are its guardian for life. I feel an unstoppable life force gathering. Something stirs awake in the fog. Slowly the grief fog clears, reveals a dragon inside me. Blood red, shimmering scales. A gift. She is breathing fire to clear the fog. Clarity. She holds still, muscles taut, awaiting my command. Strength. Her wings sustain damage in the battles, but grow back stronger. Remember. Her roar resounds throughout the kingdom as she calls to her sisters. Rise up, rise up, rise up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nada. And thank you again to readers, participants, as well as audience members. I just want to reiterate, as we're coming up on the end of the hour, Instagram Live only lets us go for an hour, so be sure to hop over to our platforms. We'll be streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Just type in Arab American National Museum, and you'll get right back to us. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Layla Azmi Goushey, who is a writer whose creative work has been published in journals such as Mizna, Sakoon, Threa, and Strange Horizons. Her story, The Heart Knows the Truth, was recently published in Time Travelers, an anthology of Palestinian speculative fiction, and she is published on popular media sites such as The Middle East Eye and Pathos Muslim. She is the editor of Baladi magazine, so be sure to follow her on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a just extreme honor, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. When I was looking at what I wanted to read tonight, I realized that two poems I had, especially one poem I had written after the 1991 war in the Gulf, still related to what I feel like I'm going through now, only more intense, where I've discovered that there are gaps between myself and my friends and colleagues. So I'm going to read this one called Single Witness. Single Witness. In the beginning was the abyss. I awakened soon after, a hero's jewel clutched in my fist, my lips, my finger pointing, lips moving, but silent. The words would not come. I lit a candle and lamented. I worshipped my disillusion as I would a martyred saint. By the light of the altar, I recognized no kindred. Solitary awareness, the dearest form of lunacy. It sharpens our vision until we see a million planets in a dewdrop. Light another candle. Did I offer my faith to a stranger? Was it stolen or freely given? Like Cassandra cursed with prophecy by Apollo, no one believes me when I speak of the destruction of Troy. I tell them I was ambushed. The cynics say I volunteered. I say the void bloomed within me, but I am only sure that I was there and did not escape. The slippery petals they closed in and swallowed. Later, I dipped the petals in honey and offered them, pleading, ask me and I will tell you, there is something more than this. And the mind is a magic wand, bestowing spirits on every rock and tree. Light another candle. This orbiting globe of faith in the abyss, forever spinning, spinning, and desperate to learn which hemisphere is real. Light another star. They are candles of an ancient altar. Would that I could snatch one for myself. Maybe by its light they could see. One night in my telescope, I find me once more, a sacristan of Martian Sidonia, reverently dusting the face with my robe after all the pilgrims have gone. Thank you. The next one I decided to read for my uncle and my father, but this one more is dedicated to my uncle and my grandfather. And I've titled it My Uncle in His Truck Stop After 1967. He would wear his winter coat from November until March, the gray one with brown stripes, so he wouldn't have to turn on the heat. He had a rundown service station on a North Texas 2-lane road. You know the kind. Wheat fields all around, and the silence. His store had a concrete floor where open brown cardboard boxes sat on top of closed brown cardboard boxes on the pearled gray concrete floor. In a crevice of the cash register stuck a postcard from his cousin in Zarqa refugee camp. Says it is over. The village is gone. Outside, a rusting Chevy pickup, circa 1967, greeted truckers who parked in front of the 2-bay garage. Time had stopped then. His father once owned a store in the old city, Jerusalem. He kept his store so clean and his apron so white, the people still remember his sincerity. Thank you. So those were the two I was going to read of my own. In my work with my web magazine, Baladi Magazine, I have mentored some young ladies who are in Gaza now, who are poets. And so I'd like to read, the next 3 poems I will read are by those poets. The first one is by Tala Albana, who is in Gaza. And the title of her poem is I Am Not the Same. I am not the same. A kite that flies over heads in attempts to rebirth a forgotten ritual. In a place that glorifies tradition to break the sky's dominance. An olive tree, keen in silence, ripped away from its honorable root. A surface that burns these bare feet, dreams blown away like sand, wishes for a new productive year, or just one collective wish to stop the war with not one loss more. Handing my father yellow cartons of a humanitarian aid package to light them and make hot bread, setting them aside in hope of returning home and collecting our scattered clothes. The image of extended hands, crowds of people who are presenting their ID cards to resign their personal information in a way of getting any grant, sinks inside. Conventions that expose how brutal the world is. Missing a stroll under a brightest moon on a street edged by jasmine scent, at dusk the time when I'd lay under the shelf to pick up a book. It has been a long time since I saw my best friend, and we sat together in the first seat in the lecture hall, gossiping about someone who made us mad. I was trying to comfort her the first time I experienced the death of someone I loved. I couldn't believe it. I'm still waiting for this nightmare to end. We're souls of emotions, not only beings in need of food and water. Men in a hurry to save what remains dry under a damp tent. Children rushing with containers to feed a starved family beyond a tent. I see my family every day, but I miss them so much, as no one ever is still the same. Even I am not the same. And that is by Tala Albana, a law student who is in Gaza. The next poem is by Miriam Khatib, and the title of her poem is My Eyes Are Filled with Fear. The darkness of night eats up everything around me, the green of the trees and the blue of the sea. The sounds of the night never leave, the rustling of the trees, the crackling of fire, the soft hum of the world's static all ring in my ears. I sit up in the empty night, my nights just days without light in the gloom, hopes and dreams, twisting and turning as I consider my well-known difficulties. My naive dreams casting a shadow over any factor contributing to this explosion of stars, of bombs, and the dark night makes me a brittle star, an afterthought to the darkness of the sky. A bubble of sadness bursts in my face, a face that rips the world, exposes the prickly lies of the world, in a misery-filled life where hope lays bare struggles and despair, sparking this daring thought above all the sky, all the stars, all the hills, a high yield of beauty. Back home, back to the night, free in my formative years, I was alone. Now I stand by myself, an adult, repressing my anxieties and tears in the midst of doubt and serious confusion. When I was younger, I was by myself. Eternal thoughts locked me inside an infernal box. But I opened the gate to look at the sky, its great dose of color, velvety feelings, a dark force of attraction. The exuberant atmosphere allows the night to seduce me, and I open my soul to the detonation in the sky. And the last one I'll read is by Ahlam Hawati, and the title of her poem is Haunted by Ghosts of Reality. The sky wears a shroud, gray and dim. Sunrise fades away, hopes grow thin. Eyes once full of childish gleam, now hollowed out, lost in a stolen dream. Faces etched with soundless cries, reflects a world where innocence lies. I navigate a land where dreams are long dead. Its air is thick with blood and dread. I run through the deserted streets alone, through the labyrinth of dust and snow. Among the ruins, I hold my soul tight. Scattered ashes, I won't fail to recall this sight. Nightfall comes deadly black. I seek a way to revive me back. In sleep, a world I might leave, but dreams betray, they're cruel and bleak. In dreams where ruins come alive, a reminder of my fight to survive. Reality's ghosts, they haunt me still, chasing shadows, breaking will. In sleep, I see the world the same. No refuge found, no end to blame. I yearn for a new dawn, for skies of blue, for a land reborn, for something true. And that is Ahlam's poem. And I hope that very soon we can all meet them in person. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Layla. And thank you to everybody tuning in tonight. I'm really appreciative that the poets on board tonight have decided to kind of alley-oop the mic over to our brothers and sisters abroad, as well as the elders turned ancestors that are inspiring the fight today. Next, we'll be hearing from Darius Simpson, who is a new African writer, performer, and skilled living room dancer from Akron, Ohio. He aims to inspire those chills that make you frown and twist your face in approval. Darius believes in the dissolution of empire and the total liberation of Africans and all oppressed people by any means available. Amen. Free the people and free the land. Thank you so much, Darius.
So what's going on, y'all? Yeah, I've been starting things with more words than poems lately. First want to say thank y'all for having me here tonight. It's really dope to really just listen to folks acknowledge that reality in a way that doesn't always happen in artistic or creative spaces, feeling both at home and inspired. Yeah, I'm gonna just do these poems. You know, I'm gonna stop. Nah, I gotta say the words for whoever might hear this. Thinking about right now being internally in the so-called US in election time, which means like one of the rare moments where people are thinking about what to do with their lives until we go into dormancy for the next 40 years. There's a lot of inspiration internationally, especially with the axis of resistance of like what it means for people to effectively combat imperialism. We also have a lot of historical examples that we can look to for like what kinds of politics people adhere to, what kinds of visions, what kind of commitments folks made, which is a question I don't know that we always arrive at when we think about what to do. Living in the so-called US, you know, I always focus on that kind of action, especially being in the Delhi. But yeah, I wanted to share that for anybody that, you know, might be watching now or might watch this and, you know, you might be feeling, okay, cool, this is the state of the world, what do I do? You know, there are folks that had committed their lives, you know, martyrs that have been martyred for their commitments, you know, for the stances they made. So, you know, we have histories that we can check into and commitments that we can make toward a different thing. Because what has been proven through the centuries is that this kind of trajectory from a capitalist, imperialist, and colonial system will continue until effectively, you know, challenged. So, you know, we can do with that history and that information what we will, but there is much work to be done. You know, of course, glory to the martyrs, victory to the resistance. Yeah, with that, I'm going to share some poems. This is called I Do Not Dream of Uncle Sam. I do not dream of a smooth-talking murderer. I want my auntie nowhere near the White House or the many misshapen corpses lining its front steps. You can keep your younger version of Bush or the polished turd whose name we've forgotten. Fuck the poor constitution of the talking piece when the children will mine minerals no matter what, and the military bases remain lodged in the throat of otherwise talkative indigenous populations. I don't want to talk about Biden's recent memory. What of the decades he supported Zionism prior? What of the crime bills he inscribed with blood? What of the 45 presidents that facilitated genocide before his wrinkly ass fell up the podium steps? What of the bipartisan attack on houselessness? What of the rising cost of rent and food and breath? What of the teachers working after hours to fund markers? What of the billions to a Nazi regime fighting a shadow? What of the GoFundMes for burying loved ones, or securing dental, or health, or to keep the roof from blowing away in the next storm this city refuses to build proper infrastructure for? Bad news is cops can't arrest tornadoes. Good news is City Hall might be swept away too. I do not care about the stuttering puppet politician. I do not care about his manufactured opposition. I want my people back in the arms of their lovers, not the cold steel teeth of police state fantasies. Bring back the guillotine and our disdain for royalty. Line up the billionaires first. Give them two options. Give up your stolen wealth or see if it holds in hell. Line up the CEOs next. Give them one option. Leave now and forever hold the peace you survive. And Echo told me this kind of violence solves nothing. As if decades of chanting slogans has gotten us any result. Okay, so maybe the rally won't get us free. I've drummed at more protests than celebrations. By protest, I mean we had a target and goals. Without permits, we marched to the rhythm of tears beating the pavement skin. What's clear is that we've been here before and will again. What's clear is that there will be war until we win the war. If there is no war, then maybe the U.S. will sandcastle crumble. If there is no U.S., maybe Africa can sleep with both eyes closed. Maybe Cuba can get a decent shot at a Sunday afternoon. Maybe Palestine will look back on occupation as a faint memory. Maybe our movement's coming to a standstill wouldn't be surrender. Okay, maybe this rally won't get us free on this here Tuesday. But listen, for a few hours, my lungs heave with a force besides grief, and thousands of pissed off cardboard posters bounce beside me. And yes, we have to organize outside of mobilizations, but damn it, they're killing children over there and over here, and last night, and the week before last, and since the first settlers colonized. And don't that mean we got to burn something? And don't that mean we don't stop till sunrise blossoms and burnt orange haze spills across skyline bridges? And ain't that physics or human nature, or the very least we could do for our babies? There is entirely too much add to this oxygen. There are simultaneously not enough fires on the West Coast. This evening, I say coast, and I think of river borders and sea blockades, dense populations and open air prisons, of gas mask keffiyeh and bandana bandages, of rocks denting literal cannons. My comrades remind me there are fires to start. And I realize my hands are not nearly dirty enough. We don't die. We second line trumpet groove through gridlock streets. We home go in charcoal black Cadillacs, stretching around corners. We wake up sharp in our Sunday best, stiff but beaming. We move the sky. We escape route starshine. We crescent moon conspiracy. We come alive in the closed palms of midnight. We electrify. We pass due bill, but full belly. We fridge empty. We pocket lent payment. We make ends into extensions. We multiply. We so-and-so, us and them. We extend family to belong to someone. We siblings because we gotta be. We chicken fry. We hog neck greens. We grease kitchen. We recipes scraped together from scraps. We prophesy. We told you so, even when we never told you nothing. We omniscient, except in our own business. We swallow nations' anthems and spit them out sweet. Make them sound like red velvet ain't just chocolate with a little dye in it. We bend lies. We amplify. We laugh so hard, it hurts. We hurt so quiet, we dance. We stay fly. We float on tracks. We glide across linoleum. We make it look like butter. We melt like candle wax in the warmth of Saturday night liquor sweat. We don't die. We dust that colonies couldn't settle. We saltwater city built from runaway skeletons. We organize. We Oakland in 66. We Attica in 71. We Ferguson before and after the camera crews. We bow, but don't break. We break, but don't crumble. We won't die. 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 We won't. I have one more poem, if that's okay. Another thing to think about, of course, like the United States, really all settler colonies, CERN empires maintain themselves or can maintain themselves by creating a population that is underinformed and ill prepared to engage effectively in the world, which sounds wild, but we are so distanced from accurate history, which means we are also so distanced from the ways that our people have been resisting throughout the world and inside of these borders. And so one of those things is like the way that violence is twisted in a way to mean when you enact in a way that is not aligned with capitalist order. So to steal is violence. You know, stealing from a company, from a corporation is violence. To you know, we can run the list down. However, you know, these daily violences, people going hungry when we have more than enough food, people braving record storms and floods, intense, when we have enough housing for everybody, like those kind of violences are, not seen as violent, such that when you take an action, either to defend yourself or righteously against the violent actor, it is categorized as violent, and the people are demonized and killed through language, called all these other words for themselves. And so, like, part of that process, this is a very long tangent. What I'm getting at is that language is essential, and like a part of the way that revolutionaries have been taken down. People who have enacted decolonization have been taken down because they're called terrorists first. They're called all these other words besides the affiliations to the organizations, to the people, to the nation, whatever it is they're acting in support of. So this poem is thinking about that kind of violence and the psychology that's created in the U.S. when we think that the violence from the state is day to day, and people uprising is the aberration, the thing that's weird. In response to the murder of Hakeem Littleton, a very well-meaning bystander said, "You know, he shot at the police, right? You know, he might not have had his hands up. You know, he did not mentor at-risk teenagers after school. You know, he was not up to date on his YMCA membership. You know, his license was suspended and his tail lights shattered. You know, he wasn't wearing a lick of white when they found him, had his pants sagging, had his shirt untucked, had his lips unbuckled, dripping southern twang all on the concrete. It sounded like a mouthful of honeybees was stuck at the top of his throat. You know he was black. Like black, like dark roast coffee beans, black, like ashy knuckles cradling a bottle of wild Irish rose on the sidewalk, black, like scarecrow perched just outside that liquor store doorway, black, like purple tar gums and gold teeth, like paper bag hands and menthol breath, like empty Black and Mild wrappers stuffed in the glove compartment. I heard it wasn't even blood where they left him. I heard it was just stains of red Kool-Aid. I heard it was just puddles of strawberry pop fizz. Sugar would have got him if 12 didn't. His teeth were little yellowing daggers. He was a dragon, returned fire, went out in a puff of smoke. He was a weapon. He didn't beg for his life or call for his mother or his partner. That brother went out on his feet, brought a gun to a gunfight, brought mutiny to a slave ship at the Atlantic shoreline. That nigga was a nigga. And not like, haha, nigga. Not like next Democratic presidential nominee, nigga. Not like run fast, jump high, nigga. Like worm food covered in tree bark. Like lead water clogging an artery, like dead leaves stuck in a gutter, like storm the arsenal and shoot the masters. He was one of those give me liberty or give me blood types. That nigga had the nerve to want freedom and then gonna do something about it. And still, what y'all gonna march for him? What would Malcolm X's old zoot suit think? What would a white woman's rendition of Dr. King think? What would the noose say? What if they see us mourning and think we just as dangerous as him? What if I say liberation and they think I mean I hate America? What if I hate America but don't know no other homeland? Shit, what if America hates me back and does something about it but doesn't leave me time to shoot first? Thank you.
Wow. Okay, I was not ready for the mic drop. Thank you very much, Darius. That's a word, the nerve to want freedom and do something about it. Um, thank you for that. And also touching on the very profound and sad fact that even mourning has become a sort of action that's marked and makes us an aggressor. The next poet artist we'll have on is Jenna Hamed, who is an artist and educator based in Queens. Her lineage extends from Beit Hanina, Jerusalem, Palestine, where her practice intersecting material culture and the written word was seated. Thank you all so much.
sitting, waiting for them to come to me, them words that will hold me still, unresting, human condition testing, human condition a testament, conditioning the human, the limits of infinite. My testament is moment about memory is buried at a museum in my home city, Arab American colony in a territory pumping blood for fertilizing, broken ground, coming, running, Lord of the Lies, Yusuf Baidoun, Thank God and We Trust, Prelude, all the Arabs in one room, diaspora disguised for the dispossessed, search for home as colonial conquest, red and blue, red turns blue, real quick, remember it like holy script, mesmerize like holy shit, metaphor like one drop rule in the bucket, no country, no president, uncommitted, no movement, refusing like I got questions for you, like would you rather see us suffer as you sit inside your comfort, afraid to give up yours for others. Power trip is the drug of choice. Watch them fall. Anything is possible, like people power, when your will's at stake, when normative is normalizing ties with the oppressive. Truth be told, Arabness is token, careless is taken, like all the things forced upon me. The worst has yet been seen. Till then, we build our coping machines. The very American consolation, solution will emerge, just give it patience. But my rage is growing crescendo. Enough was enough long ago, with systems and laws and procedures for climbing up the ladder of achievement into hallways full of skeleton veterans, but not one of those names of the 1.1 million. Colonies get mapped, while others stand inflicted. Palestine only became an issue when you became afflicted. Your tax dollars, your commute, your timeline, you. Don't worry about it. It'll end soon. Inshallah, bithennu. Cost of living is the price of your life. The noise will become ambient and white. Another thing to get used to, like privacy violations and bad news, cop cities and police states, sky-high inflation rates. Quiet, 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 quiet. You're in the fight of your life now. Nothing will be the same now. Every moment will be a dream now. Fight, fight. You're in the quiet of your life now. Nothing will be the same now. Every moment will be a fight now. Dream, dream, in the quiet of fight. Free feels differently. Good night. That's all I prepared. But I want to just thank everyone for sharing tonight. In particular, comrade of mine, Darius Simpson. Thank you for bringing in that political education through these poems. Thank you for being in this space with us, for saying the things we needed to hear tonight and every night. And it's an honor to be in conversation with you through these poems. Love you. Love you all. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Thank you all so much. Yeah, this lineup was more than I could hope for. Y'all really hit the nails on the head. Everything is all connected. We're all grieving together and fighting against the same enemy. Thank you again to everybody tuning in tonight. This is a monthly series. Hopefully we don't need another month. But if that's the case, we'll see you in November. Thank you all so much and have a good night.